Commander Zethkar adjusted his optical sensors as the massive structure materialized on the edge of their detection grid. The bridge of the hegemony surveillance vessel Watchful Eye fell into stunned silence as the readings flooded their screens. "By the ancients," whispered Navigator Yilmoth, her forearms trembling as she manipulated the scanner controls. "Commander, this vessel, it's impossible." Zethkar's chitinous plates clicked nervously. In his 3 centuries of service across 17 different star systems, he had encountered ships from dozens of species. The elegant bioships of the Veltar, grown from living coral and pulsing with bioluminescent veins. The crystalline constructs of the Shard Collective, each facet perfectly calculated for maximum efficiency. The sleek probability drive vessels of the Quantum Dancers, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. But this was something else entirely. The human warship hung in space like a predator made manifest. Nearly 2 kilometers of gunmetal gray hull, scarred with impact craters and scorch marks that spoke of countless battles. Where other species built their vessels with curves and organic lines, following the universal principles of harmony and flow, the humans had created something that looked like it had been forged in the heart of a dying star and hammered into shape by pure violence. "Analysis Science Officer Drim," Zethkar commanded, his voice barely steady. Drim's tentacles writhed as he processed the data streams. "Commander, the materials. They're using refined metallic composites that should be impossible to manufacture at this scale. The energy signatures indicate fusion reactors, plural, each one generating enough power to run one of our city worlds." "And the weapons?" His voice trailed off. "Report. Sir, I count no fewer than 400 weapon emplacements. Kinetic cannons, energy projectors, missile tubes, and... Commander, some of these weapon types don't exist in our databases. They appear to be purpose-built for destruction on a scale we've never encountered." The bridge crew exchanged glances of pure terror. The galactic hegemony had maintained peace for 8,000 years through careful diplomacy, and the understanding that all civilized species shared certain fundamental values: efficiency, beauty, harmony with natural forces. War was conducted through economic pressure and political maneuvering. Physical violence was reserved for the most primitive of species. "Communications," Zethkar ordered. "Standard first contact protocols." Communications Officer Trindal's gill slits fluttered nervously. "Attempting contact now, sir." The response came almost immediately, delivered in perfectly grammatical hegemony standard, though with an accent none of them had ever heard. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation ship Indomitable. You are in violation of quarantine protocols around the Proxima system. State your business or prepare to be boarded." The casual mention of boarding sent another wave of shock through the bridge. In civilized space, boarding was considered an act of ultimate aggression, reserved only for pirates and the criminally insane. "They learned our language," Yilmoth whispered. "How is that possible? We only detected their signals 3 cycles ago." Zethkar composed himself and activated the communications array. "Greetings, Captain Chen. I am Commander Zethkar of the Hegemony Surveillance Corps. We come in peace following standard first contact protocols. We were unaware of any quarantine." A pause. Then, "Surveillance, huh? Let me guess, you've been watching us fight the Vecti swarm near Proxima B and thought you'd get a closer look at the new kids on the block." The accuracy of the statement left Zethkar speechless. The Vecti were a hive mind species that occasionally sent expansion fleets into contested space. The hegemony had been monitoring the situation, but their protocols called for non-interference until a clear victor emerged. They had expected months of drawn-out conflict, with both sides eventually retreating to negotiate. Instead, the humans had ended the invasion in 6 days. "Your efficiency in dealing with the Vecti was impressive," Zethkar managed. Captain Chen's laugh crackled through the speakers, and somehow that sound was more unsettling than any threat could have been. "Efficient?" "Commander, we were just getting warmed up. The Vecti brought 10,000 ships and called it an invasion fleet. Where we come from, we call that a Tuesday." Science Officer Drim's reading spiked. "Commander," he whispered urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout their ship. It's like they're powering weapons for demonstration." The human captain continued, her voice carrying an edge of steel wrapped in velvet. "See, Commander, where we come from, peace is something you earn by being too dangerous to fight. The Vecti learned that lesson. Took them about 72 hours once we stopped holding back." "Holding back?" The words escaped Zethkar's beak before he could stop them. Oh yes. The first few days we were trying to be, what's the word you folks use? Harmonious. Minimal casualties, surgical strikes, trying to convince them to withdraw. But the hive minds don't really understand diplomacy, do they? So we switched to speaking their language. The screens filled with tactical data that made no sense. Battle recordings showing human ships moving in ways that violated several laws of physics. Weapons that turned entire Vecti battle clusters into expanding clouds of superheated gas. And tactics that seemed less like military strategy and more like applied mathematics of destruction. The funny thing is, Captain Chen continued conversationally, the Vecti actually had us outnumbered. But see, they made the same mistake most folks do when they first meet humans. They assumed that just because we're new to the galactic stage, we must be primitive. They didn't bother to ask where we came from. Navigator Yilmoth pulled up the human stellar neighborhood on her charts. The region showed as a chaotic maze of contested systems, rogue planets, and spatial anomalies that would challenge even the most advanced civilizations. We evolved in what you folks call the Maelstrom sector, Captain Chen explained. Spent 10,000 years fighting each other, fighting nature, fighting physics itself. We didn't get to be a spacefaring civilization by being the smartest or the prettiest or the most harmonious. We got here by being the ones who were still standing when everything else fell down. The bridge of the watchful eye was silent except for the hum of instruments and the rapid clicking of Zethkar's nervous plates. So here's how this is going to work, Commander, the human captain said, her tone shifting to something harder, more focused. You're going to take your sensor logs back to the Hegemony Council. You're going to tell them that humanity is officially announcing our presence in galactic affairs. And you're going to tell them that we'd very much like to be friends. Another pause, pregnant with implications. Because the alternative is finding out why the Vecti called us demons before they stopped calling us anything at all. The transmission cut, leaving the bridge in absolute silence. Commander Zethkar stared at the human warship for several long moments, watching weapon systems power down, and the massive vessel beginning to turn away. Finally, he spoke. Navigator, set course for Hegemony Central. Maximum speed. Yes, sir. Should I prepare the standard first contact report? Zethkar's optical sensors remained fixed on the Indomitable as it disappeared into hyperspace, leaving only gravitational echoes and the lingering scent of ozone. No, he said quietly. This one requires a personal briefing. As the watchful eye jumped to hyperspace, carrying news that would reshape galactic civilization, one thought echoed through every mind on the bridge. The humans hadn't threatened them. They hadn't needed to. Sometimes the most terrifying revelations come not from what is said, but from what is left unsaid. And in the silence that followed humanity's first words to the galaxy, every civilization would soon learn that some species don't announce their arrival with diplomacy. They announce it with the sound of their enemies learning to be very, very quiet.